DrMBalmer channel. So as you can see, I'm currently inside the engine compartment of a vehicle, and this particular vehicle is my father's, and it's about to be sold and exchanged for another vehicle. But for those of you who've seen my videos, you might know that I installed one of the ANCEL BM200 devices with this dashboard displays in his vehicle as well as mine. And currently I have it hooked up to a power bank, a CTEC power bank, because it had discharged. So worthy of note is that this device during winter, right now it's almost mid-February here in Sweden, and of course it is pretty dark and not much sun. Even when there's light outside, it stays pretty dark. Not much sunlight. So the battery inside of this display device itself will discharge, and it will need some charging support through USB-C interface regularly. During the summer I didn't see any such need for that. As you can see, the battery is 90% inside the vehicle today, and the state of health meter isn't very accurate, as has been mentioned in some follow-up comments for the original video. It basically drops a few percentage points every time you crank the engine, and the cranking voltage goes under a certain voltage, about 10 volts or so, I think. And but this battery is about maybe 1 year old battery. And also, during winter this discharges fast. If you have the backlight option on, then this device senses when there's a little light outside, and then it turns off during better lighting conditions, which of course the backlighting draws a lot of power. However, I did receive a couple of comments regarding the device that sits on top of the car battery itself. In this car there is a plastic shroud covering the battery itself, so the device sits underneath here, and the plan is to remove basically the ANCEL monitoring device before selling the car. For those of you who saw the original video, you might have seen that I struggled a bit with the connector, the positive connector. So when the car was on a annual service, I asked them to create a spade connector or something at this terminal, but they ended up doing something like this. The blue wire here is from the ANCEL, and they just, I don't know, crimped it together with something and put some electrical tape. So that will be a bit of a hassle. I think I will just cut the blue wire off, and I can't lift this plastic shroud off either before I lift away the positive terminal. But the way it's connected now, the wire will be in the way anyway, so I will probably cut it and then however, I received some comments, a couple of good comments on the original video, that how much current is actually drawn by the ANCEL device connected to the car battery. Will it drain the battery, or is it basically no worries? So I have brought I don't have an oscilloscope, unfortunately, but I have a DMM, so I will try to use that to measure the current of the device. Yeah, it was mentioned in the manual for the BM200 that it has a sensor which wakes up once it's shaken. The question is that sensor only inside of this device, or is it also inside of the device sitting on top of the cell or the battery here? Another thing is that, well, this isn't very accurate the state of health. I must say I'm pretty pleased with the device on its own, regardless of that aggregated value or calculated value, because these figures are pretty useful. The cranking voltage says a bit about the battery, the state of charge, and well, yeah, now the display went off, but temperature in the compartment here and stuff like that, and the battery voltage. So now this display has turned itself off. Let's see, what is there? Some light? If I carefully, yeah, I remove the light, so yes, we can see a red light which comes from the device actually on the battery itself. So it is current, it's drawing some current, some power is drawn. The question is how much, even though this display has turned itself off. Now if I shake this display, yeah, you see it immediately wakes up. So the shake sensor seems to be in this device, and this one seems to be sending data, transmitting for a longer period of time at least, and it probably is there monitoring and sits there, and yeah, of course it's good that it conserves the battery of this one, but depending on how many milliamps, hopefully it's in the milliamp range, the device on here draws, it might be of importance if you're leaving your car unused for a very long time. Right, so I think that I will cut this blue wire off, and well, it's there's a cable tie here, and it goes all the way there. So yeah, maybe I should try to remove the cable tie without damaging the red wire. Yeah, that one flew off somewhere, but that's okay. It's just a piece of plastic. So there's the remainders of the cable tie, and I will tie this together later on, but without the blue wire. So I will remove the ANCEL device so I can place this device on my father's new car. I will basically cut it off right here, I think. The positive terminal. So that should be good enough. And now to measure the current, let's first of all see what happened with the display device. It's still showing the same values that it did. So it's not getting any data from here, but it's showing the last values, it seems. And then when it gets an update, it will update the figures. So if I turn this off and turn it on, yeah, then we have an empty set of data. Alright, now let's I'll have to strip this wire just a little bit, so, but I think we shall manage. Right, let's bring out the multimeter. And make sure it's set to, yeah, milliamp we have over there. We will start with the milliamp range. It shouldn't be in the amp range, at least. And I have these cable shoes I got with the alligator clips, so I should be able to insert this there and this and there, and now I can get some clamping action going on. So now let's clamp one of the terminals there, the positive, and then we will clamp this one there, and we will set this to 200 milliamp range first. And we see that something happened on the display here. So it's starting off again at 100%. And we'll get the voltage of the battery. We have no cranking voltage yet, so it's fresh. And well, we can see that it jumps around a bit. I suppose that's when it's transmitting. And since I don't have an oscilloscope, I can't really say much about what the peaks are and how often it transmits, but it seems to have a idle milliamp draw of 0.4 milliamps, and then it jumps up to 5.6 or 6.4. for a very short period of time. So yeah, you can see the behavior with your own eyes. And I would say that the spiking up is pretty quick. So if it reaches 6 milliamps at 12 volts or 12.6, it's not too bad. Now the display here has it turned itself off, and now it turned itself on, but that didn't really affect the power draw. I believe that this is only a transmitter. It's a one-way direction from here to the display, basically. So yeah, but this is what it looks like. 6.8 milliamps or 6.4, 6.3, and then it goes to 0.4 milliamps over at 400 microamps, right? So yeah, the power draw isn't huge. If it would be 1 amp, that would be like 12 watts, right, on a 12 volt battery. So 0.1, which would be 100 milliamps, would be 1.2 watts. 10 milliamps, 0.12 watts, and it's maybe 6 or so, so half of that. So 0.06 watts every now and then. But you should also consider that the car itself is drawing some current, and I believe that's a lot more than this device. But yes, of course, it does draw some current. It seems to be peaking around 6.6. However, yeah, we don't know, because this is not an oscilloscope, so I don't know really how fast, how long time it spends in the different states, but yeah, it's there we have it. So we're back inside, and I have mounted the sort of unit that sits on top of the car battery usually to this cutting board, and I have the display module here. So currently this is not connected to anything, but I have also acquired a lab bench power supply. It's WANPTEC KPS 3010D, 0 to 30 volts, 0 to 10 amps. So it's not a new power supply, but well, this is what I managed to get as of now. It should be plenty for our purposes. So let's first of all see if we can just fire this. Oh, well, maybe fire isn't the word I was looking for, but you know what I mean. Let's see if we can make this turn on, hopefully. So as we measured, the current draw spiked to around 10 milliamps or so. We should be able to limit the current of this. So I have set the voltage to a very low voltage, and here on the left I can have a coarse-grained control of amps and a fine-grained control of amps, and then on the right side a coarse-grained control of volts and a fine-grained control of volts. So currently we have a low voltage, so we shall to set the amp limit when it goes into constant current mode. Basically now it is in constant voltage mode, but if I turn this knob down and I short circuit the plus and minus, and I gently start to turn the coarse-grained knob here. Yeah, so now we can set the amp limit. So currently we're drawing, because we have a dead short here, we're currently drawing about 370 milliamps at 0.2 volts, so the power isn't very high, which makes this fine. And now we can adjust the amps. And you can see with the bottom part knob I can adjust like 10 milliamps at a time. So we don't need this much. We could actually decrease this maybe to 0.3 amps. Yeah, something like that. And then we disconnect it and we go back into constant voltage mode because we don't have a short. So let's see if we can just turn this on. So I will connect the negative to the negative and the positive to the positive. However, nothing really happens. And that is because we are in on a very low voltage. So let's say that we are charging the device and or the battery in the car, and the voltage is increasing. Ooh, something starts to happen at around well, we're at 2.4 volts, jumping around a bit. It sort of starts and turns off. Right, and this starts beeping. Yeah, cranking it says. So the cranking voltage is 3.65 volts. It thought we were cranking because the voltage jumps up and down a bit here. So yeah, let's just simulate a normal battery. So I will disconnect the device so we get a more stable voltage maybe. Well, it isn't exceptionally stable, but let's maybe the knobs are a bit oxidated or something as well. $13 volts. 12.7 volts. That should be pretty much a decently charged car battery. So let's now connect. And let's see here. Nothing happens. Or if I turn it down a bit. Well, it seems like it's doing something, because we're getting updated values here. However, this reports 12.76 volts. If I decrease a little bit more, we're at 12.37 and we're at 11.9 here. So let me bring out the multimeter and we shall verify what we actually got. And let's put it to DC volts, 20 volt range, and I will measure. Yes, 12.42 volts. So we're about a half a volt off on the power supply here. Which is interesting. But it means that the ANCEL display here, it shows 12.4 and we're at 12.43 according to the multimeter. So the voltage is pretty accurate on the ANCEL. Alright, but we can leave it at 12.4 volts. Now, as far as the characteristics of this, so let's just put this to amps again, like we had in the car, in the milliamp range, and we will set it to, let's see here, 200 milliamps. Or 20 milliamps range, and if I disconnect this one, and then yeah, so we had an over limit at the very start. And but right now we're at yeah, basically 3 milliamps, and then we'll jump up to around 9 milliamps. But the ANCEL is saying low charge. So with the multimeter connected we lost 0.1 volts as well, so we could increase this just a tiny bit. Right, so let me disconnect this and reconnect. Yeah, so the low charge indicator light has gone out, so we have a little bit higher voltage now with the DMM connected, and now we're, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, it's actually funny because now we're at much lower values. We top out at around 5 milliamps or 6, and then we're running at 0.5 milliamps because there are no LEDs lit here. But let's see what. So that's pretty annoying actually. If we lower the voltage again and a little bit more, still no indicator light, but if I disconnect this and then reconnect, no, still no LED. Yeah, now it reacted. So it lit an LED, and the LED, when it's lit, it draws a few milliamps. So we actually draw 3 milliamps as a base value instead of 0.5. So the more discharged your battery is, the more the device will draw in terms of power, because, well, at least the LED draws a couple of milliamps for sure. So that will drain your battery faster. Now, how much is 3 milliamps? Well, at assuming this is pretty accurate, we're at 12.05 volts. So let's do some calculations. So 12.05 volts times 0.003. That should be 3 milliamps. That's 0.036 watts. Now, let's say that you have an 80 amp hour battery at 12 volts, and it has a low charge of 12 volts. You should consider recharging the battery pretty immediately. But anyway, let's say you have 40 amp hours left. Or actually, you should have less, but at that point. But let's say that you have 40 amp hours available to you. Then 40 amp hours, and we divide it by 0.003. Well, that's 13,333 hours of running only this. Of course, your car will draw a lot more power when it just sits there turned off, however. So but divided by 24 hours, that's 555 days. so it's almost 2 years or so. So yeah, but of course, if your battery is charged to a higher rate when this LED isn't lit, well, now it actually... Oh well, sorry, we haven't connected it. So it jumps around a bit, first of all, up to about 8 milliamps. So I suppose the average current draw is between 3 and 8 milliamps. Let's say 6 milliamps. That means if you have 40 amp hours available to you and divided by 0.006, these many hours divided by 24, yeah, basically half, then 277 days. So if you're driving your car at least once a week, you should be fine, I suppose. But it depends. And however, if we assume that we have a higher voltage, so let me yeah, so now this actually lit up a second well, yeah, charging system, it says. It's beeping here. So now we have two LEDs lit. So we have the state of health, which it shows is good, but we also have low charge LED still lit. And in that case, the current draw here yeah, it jumps between, let's say, 5 and 10 or 11 milliamps. And this is at 13.18 volts, so your battery might be well charged. So yeah, but it's interesting that we still have the low charge LED being lit. So I will disconnect this and let's reconnect and see what happens. Yeah, now nothing is lit. So basically, and this one says it's 100% SOC. So depending on the state of this, so if it has its LEDs lit or not, it will draw a lot more current or a lot less current. So now we top out at around let's see here, 6 or so. Yeah, from a half a milliamp up to 6 point something. So but the longest time we stay at 0.4, 0.5, and then we sort of spike to 6 milliamps, 5-6 milliamps. So I would suspect the average current might be like 2.5 or 3 milliamps maybe. So yeah, but we would like to be able to measure this in a better way. So how can we go about that? Well, give me a moment. And it's completely new, but it has been sitting somewhere at someone's place for quite a while, as I understood it. So Velleman and full auto setup function, hold and store function. We'll get some bold statements here. Do not let its size fool you. This oscilloscope packs out of power in a tiny box. Now you can really take a powerful oscilloscope everywhere. We have some probes. And yeah, so let's open it up. The problem is, however, of course, that an oscilloscope measures voltage and not current. We have some manuals and stuff. The device itself. Let me just zoom out a bit. Right, so a little more space to see here. We have an on-off button. We have a 9 volts DC, but oh, hang on. The DC plug is a bit unaligned here, so maybe we won't get anywhere. And then we have the actual probe. We have a USB to 9 volts, I suppose, then connector. And then we have yeah, clamp and a probe with a 1x and 10x sensitivity, I suppose, and we can exchange these maybe. So alright, that's pretty much what's in the box. Now I suppose this won't turn on. No, of course not. And it's been sitting for a long while, so we have a kind of hole here for something. Yes, nickel metal hydride Can't really focus on this one, but it says nickel metal hydride batteries inside, 4.8 volt type, and use 9 volt DC 200 milliamp adapter. And we have sort of a silicon case, which it is encased in. So let's see if we can liberate it. Yeah. But it doesn't turn on, of course, and I'm a bit worried about the plug here being misaligned. So anyway, let's try to connect this and see if it takes a charge. So I can use maybe my USB meter, and I can turn this off for now. I have a suspicion that the nickel metal hydride is not feeling too well. So well, it was possible to connect it, and we got a red light, and we have a 0.34 amps, I think. We might zoom in a bit. Yes. So it's taking a charge, but I don't know. It's been sitting for years, and you know, everyone who's used nickel metal hydride batteries know that, well, if they get overly discharged and lie around for an extended period of time, they will get high internal resistance, and they will not function the way you would assume. Charging. If I turn it on, show, but it's charging with 350 milliamps of current. So allow me to just skim through the manual a bit and see what's inside. So I've managed to finally, I had some issues attaching the ground wire to the probe, but after tinkering a bit I managed. And well, let's try a simple measurement with a 9 volt battery, which should be in pretty good shape, I think. I will attach the negative wire there and the positive there, and then we wait for the auto ranging. Yeah, we get a flat line. It says 9.14 or 9.28 volts. It's fluctuating a little bit. 9.14 volts, 9.28. So yeah, and we have 4 volts per div. So from the middle there, I suppose, we have 4, 8, 9. Yeah. Okay. So that's the first measurement done. Now let's see what happens if we decide to let me just get some things out of the way. If we were to just measure the voltage, I suppose. Yeah, we can measure the voltage across the device here. If I turn this on and we bring this in, so we're at 13.21. I can put this there. So I am, and this one is pretty accurate. As we saw, the power supply shows 12.7, so it's a bit off, but right. Anyway, let's attach the negative there and then probe the positive. So yeah, we get a flat line of 13 volts, 13.1 to 13.24, and let's see if we can make this stick. And that's no surprise. I mean, that's pretty expected. However, we know that the current draw does fluctuate, because we measured that with the multimeter, with this one. So how will we go about to make it work? Well, I think that if we put resistor in series with either the positive or the negative, and then we probe on both sides of the resistor, so one being the negative side and the other one being the positive, we should theoretically get a voltage drop over the resistor. And if we have the voltage drop, if we're measuring that, then we should be able to calculate the current as well. Now, I'm not an expert on electronics, but that's the idea. Also, I suppose we want a pretty low value resistor. So this device does not draw a huge amount of current. And if we put it in series, we shouldn't exceed any resistor specs, like a quarter watts resistor or something. We were way lower on the power draw, and the power draw is fluctuating as well, which is what we're trying to measure. So we should be good. Now, I think you want a low value resistor then, because you want to simulate just like the resistor should be, you know. If we have a low value resistor, it will equate to basically a wire, while if we have a high value of a resistor, then that would probably shift the functionality a bit, because there would be a large voltage drop with high resistance, if I'm not mistaken, right? And therefore, allow me to find a resistor. So I rarely use resistors much, so but I have some assortment. However, I didn't have too low resistor values, unfortunately, but I found one box that looks like this, and there's like a 1K resistor, 47 ohm, and 10 ohms, but then I have a ones here that some are unmarked here. I don't know the value of those. I had never learned the coloring, but I have some supposedly 4.7 ohm resistors. 4.7 might seem like a whole lot, of course. Okay, 5, so we can go lower. 4.7. Great. So those are 4.7. What are these? So this one is pretty. It's a ceramic thing. So let's try that one. 47 ohms. Yeah, 46.6. So I would have liked to see like under 1 ohm maybe. But if you have a 1 ohm, what happens then? Nothing too good maybe. However, these ones, and particularly this one, 1.1 ohm, and this one 1.4 ohms. Yeah, if we can somehow put at least the 1 ohm one in series there. Let's try that. So let's see how we practically will do this. Let's take the... Well, we can actually take the negative wire, maybe, or let's take the positive, I don't know. And so one end goes on here, and the other one would go there, ideally. So all the current has to go through the resistor as well, but if it's a 1 ohm resistor, I don't know, is it a good enough value, or do we have to create something better? We could, of course, we can try this, and we could just measure the voltage with the DMM first. Something like that. If I turn it on. We're in voltage mode. And then I measure the voltage . No. Yeah, we're getting some measurements. Let's go down to 200 milli. Yeah, so 0.4 volts. And then we go up to 5.5 or 6. So, okay. Let's say that, just to try the calculation a bit. So the voltage drop, actually we have, that was what we measured. So it was generally at around 0.5 millivolts. So we want to calculate the current. And to calculate the current, we should let's see here, that's the voltage divided by the resistance. So the voltage was we have the voltage then, which is 0.0004. No, sorry. Yeah, it's right. 0.4 millivolts. So it would have 4,404 volts. Okay. So 0.0004 divided by the resistance, which is 1.1 ohms. So we divide this by 1.1 ohms. And we get a current of 0.36 amps, which we can multiply by 1,000. So 0.36 milliamps. And since the current in a circuit is the same in the entire circuit, if I am not mistaken, right? The input voltage is, let's see here, 13.2 volts. So if we want to calculate the power, we should multiply the current with the voltage. So we multiply this by 13.2. That's 4.8 milliwatts, since we were in the milliamp range there. So if we divide it by 1,000 again, that's how many watts. So 5 milliwatts we're drawing at the lower end of the spectrum. let's see if we can get this to show something on the scope. I really need a better scope because this right now there I have this one, so I will clamp. Let me see if we can remove this meter, and let's see if we can I will turn this off, and I will try to clamp both the resistor and the wire here in one go. So yeah, wish me luck. And I think I have them both there. They're not clamped particularly fancily, but right, and then I will put this there, and this there, and this one here. So yeah, something like that. So now I'm measuring on both sides of the resistor. So we will be reading the fluctuating voltage drop on the oscilloscope, hopefully. Maybe this won't work, but yeah, and let's see what happens. And then by the same means we could apply the same calculations to find out the sort of varying amps and the power and yeah, watts power. So I will turn this on, and that one turned on, so we seem to have some connection, but it's not particularly good of a connection. And let's allow this to settle. We're not getting too good of a connection, I think. Yeah. Maybe I need to yes, this is 2 milliseconds per div, so it's far too fast. Let's see if we can (10 milliseconds per div). So half a second per div. Now we're getting some readings. So can I press some hold button? I haven't learned this device yet, so yeah, there we have a hold. So if I let go of this, right, so we have half a second per div. And now let's see. Unfortunately, since I just started using this right here, right now, so I'm not too familiar with the menus here, but we can see that it spikes up every now and then, and let me fetch something to point with. So maybe I should zoom in a bit. Right. So we have half a second from here to here, I suppose. And maybe I should increase the yeah, I didn't get the top. Maybe I should, so don't get the clipping action. So if we unhold, measure a bit more, and I go into the menu, and then we choose 5 millivolts. We choose, oops, sorry, 10. Maybe 25. No. Oh, I can change the millivolt settings. Sorry if I'm out of shot a bit, but right. Okay. Now we're getting, oh, so now we have something. Let's see here, half a second per div, and we have 10 millivolts per div on the y-axis. So it means we spike up to, let's see here, 10, 20, 35 millivolts or so. But we hold it for a very short time, so most of the time we're somewhere around the 0 mark. We'll have to increase the resolution here from 10 millivolts to something lower, so we can see the small fluctuations. But the large ones, actually, they're very short, but they fluctuate up to, well, if we are at 10, so 10, 20, 35, I would say. 35 millivolts. So if we have a 35 millivolts voltage drop over the 1.1 ohm resistor, let's see here, that would mean 35 divided by 1000, that's 35 millivolts, if we divide this by the resistance, right, divide by 1.1 ohms, so we get that's the current. So we get about 30 milliamps. So it spikes up to 30 milliamps, and if we have let's see here, multiply this by 13.2 volts in the system, that's 0.42 watts. However, as might perhaps be seen here, I really need a better scope and some better knowledge, but we only stay there for a very short amount of time. So we have 0.5 seconds per div, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0.1 second. Yeah. We only stay there for 0.1 second. So maybe a tenth of a second we're at 32 milliamps, was it? We have a longer run here, of course. Maybe it's 0.2 seconds. But otherwise, we're mainly... I suppose that's when it's transmitting, and that seems to be... I could put, of course, markers here and stuff, but I don't know how to navigate this device yet too well, so... it seems that if we move this one step to the left, sort of, we have like 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5 seconds. So, and then 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Yeah, so around every 2.5 seconds we see a spike. I suppose, I don't know, is this the average millivolt value? But it seems awfully high. 78.3. However, so let's unhold this, and we can move the millivolt so we're at 2 millivolts per div now, and I will let's wake this up, the device, and I will make a new measurement. Oh, sorry, I'm holding the wrong probe and wondering why nothing happens. So I will take the correct probe and probe it, and I will see if we can get the recurring pattern. Well, it seems a bit random, but yeah. There. Maybe it has several different sequences that it goes through. But let's zoom in a bit on this now. So now we're only at 2 millivolts per div. So don't get the tops here. But yeah, so 2 millivolts. That's the half a millivolts, I suppose, and then 0.4, 0.5, and then we have the almost half a millivolt, which we saw. Sorry, half a millivolt. Let's see here. 2 millivolts. Yeah, maybe 2 millivolt tops here. From here to there, or so. So, yeah, we're not drawing a huge amount of current, at least, and but of course, yeah, we do spike up, and when we try to measure with the usual multimeter, we couldn't really get all the spikes, and it seemed to level out at around, or spike up to around 10, 11 milliamps, but on the scope we can see that it actually went higher, and we see the recurring pattern, and yeah, so my opinion, at least, is that if you maintain your car battery, basically, and it's charged to something like 13 volts, which should be about a fully charged car battery, then it should be fine. But yeah, if you're not driving your car too often, then you might, of course, I mean, if you run it like once every month or something, and your battery isn't very good to begin with, like in my car I have a very bad battery, so sure, maybe I can see a few percentage points being sort of drawn by this device, in that case, after a month or so, a couple of weeks. But in general, if you're driving your car like weekly, I think it should be just fine. However, let's I'm interested in trying to decrease the voltage. We can emulate not so fully charged battery. So the readout here is pretty accurate, as we measured with the DMM previously, so we will decrease the voltage a little bit. Let's see here, we can yeah, now we got an LED light as well, which is interesting. And also, while you're driving your car, of course, you'll have the alternator running, charging your battery. So But let's try to... I suppose that this LED will... Oh. Will ruin some things. So 12.7 volts. That's well, it fluctuates a bit. Maybe I can use the fine. Oh, it's already on minimum. These knobs are very sensitive and doing things I don't always think that they're doing. But okay, 12.7 volts. And now we have the green LED lit here. So let's see if we can do another measurement. And for that, let's release the hold. And take this probe and probe it. I know I'm out of shot. I'm just trying to we're at 12.75 volts, and let me refocus a bit. Okay, yeah, sorry, I should 5 millivolts per div. Let's try it again. Yeah, we're spiking higher. Okay, let's release this and 10 millivolts per div on the y-axis. Yeah. So we can see here, maybe, yes. Once again, we have one spike, which is a tiny bit longer, like 0.1 seconds longer than the other spikes. And then we have one of these and two of these at least. And so we're spiking to, let's see here, 10, 20, 30, yeah, almost 40 millivolts. That one is 40. So around 40 millivolts with the green LED being lit there. And we should remember that now we're actually this is like, oh, now it turned off on me as well. Right. So now we're at 12.75 volts or so. Previously we were at 13.2. And we're spiking higher because of the LED, I would suppose. So otherwise, with the lower voltage of the battery, like simulating a lower battery voltage, and if the LED wasn't lit, we would presumably have a lower current draw because we have a lower voltage. So the current would be lower with the same resistance. But which isn't the case right now, because we have a pretty bright green LED in here. Let's try to lower the voltage some more. Yes, so this would be 12.12 volts. It says charge here. SOC is 21%. And we have a red LED lit here, which also draws some current. So if we have a battery in this shape, and we monitor the 12.12 volts there, and I shall probe the positive, unhold, and I should refocus, but bear with me. Right. So yeah, in this case we still have 10 millivolts, and we spike right about to 10, 20, 30, 40 millivolts. So yeah, we get pretty much the same current draw, and we have the red LED drawing some current in the background there. So, and then we have some minor fluctuations here. So a bit. Now we have two LEDs lit, actually. Good condition of battery, state of health, but low charge is still on. However, we have 12.6 volts here now. So let's do a final measurement here. Yeah, now we got the spiky stuff again. Yeah, about 40 milliamps tops, and then every 2.5 seconds or so, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see here. If we move this a little bit, we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divided by half, so 2.5 seconds, and then maybe 2 seconds here. So yeah. All right. So yeah. Excuse me for my. Do apologize me for my lacking skills in handling a scope and with all the things surrounding that. But for the scope that I have, I will let it charge and see if the battery inside actually has some health left. But yeah, there we have it. At least we have some kind of power supply. It seems to be oxidated or something. I don't know. Or yeah, maybe not the best then. And I'll have to try to get another one maybe soon. And the oscilloscope, well, it works for some. We could find out time intervals and how high we spiked on the current with the resistor in place, and we calculated some current and power draw values, both for the spikes and the usual sort of voltage range that it's the usual current draw between the spikes. And yeah, I hope this gives you some information, and thank you so much to my subscribers and viewers, and to the users who asked me the questions about the current draw behavior of this device. And I would say that if you drive your car every now and then, like every 2 weeks to at most once a month, it should be fine. You shouldn't drop too much in the battery capacity itself just from that. And of course, as always, you should connect your car battery to a car battery charger now and then to keep it topped up, since lead acid batteries actually do like to be topped up and kept there, as far as I understand it. However, so yeah, thank you so much for your question. I at least, sorry for the delay as well. I mean, I had to get some kind of power supply, I felt, and find some kind of a scope, and well, currently it's this one. Very miniature, but yeah, that's it for this one. I hoped I could. Oh, that's the ice cream truck. I better get to it. So thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye bye.